Salutations, friends. I hope you're well. And I'm back with some incessant babbling and pointless opinions to bore the living pants off of you. Don't you feel lucky? I'm here today because I want to talk about an album that I love, and they just reissued it. And yeah, I'm going to get right into it. It's funny, I normally, as you guys know who watch my channel regularly, I don't normally bother with reissues. I just don't normally, because 99% of the time they're not pressed very well, and I already have the original vinyl, and so I just don't bother. But this year's been different. I've only bought a handful of records all year, and probably at least half of what I've purchased are all reissues. And this is one of them. I just bought this a few weeks ago, and I was really happy with it. It reminded me how much I love this album, and so I'm going to talk at you for a few minutes about it, if you please. Thank you. Dreadzone, 360 Degrees. This actually came out last year. I totally missed it. I can't believe I missed it. I pulled out all my Dreadzone catalog, and it dawned on me they hadn't reissued this. At least I thought. A couple weeks ago, I pulled out all my Dreadzone records, and I pulled out my original vinyl issue of this album, which is on Creation Records, by the way. And I've noticed that they reissued Second Light recently, which was Dreadzone's second album, and it just made me wonder, why have they not reissued 360 Degrees? The original vinyl pressing of Second Light was a double album. Even though this album's longer, 360 Degrees was originally only on a single record, and this album's a half an hour long. Or, sorry, the album is 60 minutes long. Each side had a half an hour of music on it, which meant that the music was very compressed, and it just didn't sound very good on vinyl. And this is by far, in my opinion, this is just an opinion, okay, but by far Dreadzone's greatest work, in my opinion. So I thought, how have they not reissued 360 Degrees? I just don't get it. And in my head, I always envision like, if they did reissue 360 Degrees, it would be so cool if they put it on double vinyl. They put 3 tracks per side, 3 on side 1, 3 on side 2, 3 on side 3, and then put the 3 B-sides from the Warning 12-inch on side 4. Imagine my joy and glee when I looked this up a couple weeks ago, and they had done exactly that last year. Somehow I missed it. But they did that. They thought about it, which is already a good sign when it comes to a reissue. I know that sounds silly, but thinking isn't exactly what record companies do when they reissue albums. We all know that. But they put some thought into it, and they put the original album on the first 3 sides. They put the 3 Warning B-sides on side 4. Thank you! Stands to reason, right? It was the only single from the album, if you don't count The Good, the Bad, and the Dread, which came out here in the United States, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But in the UK, The Warning was the only single you got from, well, House of Dread too. That was on a different label though. Okay, they did release a few singles from, now that I'm thinking about all my Dreadzone records, yeah, they did actually do. Anyway, the one single that came out on Creation Records in the UK was The Warning. And it was the best single. I think The Good, the Bad, and the Dread is a close second. I'll get into why in a couple minutes. But they thought about it, and they did the right thing. They put the Warning B-sides on side 4, so you get all the stuff in one package. Excellent. Okay? And yeah, this came out last year, like a year and a half ago. I had no clue. I went to Discogs, and of course some chode was asking $80 for it. So I was like, okay, I'm not paying that for a record I already have. But then, you know what? I did the sensible thing and I went to Dreadzone's website. I just went directly to their website and guess what? They have these on sale for 30 bucks. Brand spanking new. Sealed and ready to go. 30 bucks. Of course, shipping costs like $25, but $55 later, I didn't mind buying this. And I, put my money directly toward Dreadzone and their website, which felt better, made me feel better as well. By the way, I was really hoping to get number 3. I don't care. At any rate, I'm happy to have this record. This, yeah, like I mentioned before, this got pressed on single one record, and it's an hour long, the album. So it never sounded good. I'm talking about the sound quality. I don't mean the music. The music's amazing, but I had always wished to have a vinyl copy of 360 Degrees on double vinyl, and it happened. I'll talk about the actual pressing in a few minutes, but you guys, hopefully you guys watched my Big Audio Dynamite video. Those of you who don't know, I can't imagine that you wouldn't. Dreadzone is Greg Roberts from Big Audio Dynamite. He was the drummer. And it's other guys too, but when I think of Dreadzone, I think of Greg Roberts. I think it's his project, and he probably forever will be a member of Big Audio Dynamite. I did a Big Audio Dynamite video 5+ years ago, I think. It was one of the first videos I ever did. I took a lot of shit for it because I said that I liked Big Audio Dynamite more than The Clash. That really pissed people off. And, whatever. I mean, you mess with Clash fans and they mess with you back. I mean, I wasn't asking for it. It was just an opinion, but I still hold that stance, by the way. I like Big Audio Dynamite more than The Clash. Doesn't mean I hate The Clash. I love The Clash, of course, but I think I explained this in my Clash or my Big Audio Dynamite video. The thing with The Clash is I think part of the import of The Clash was that you were there when it was happening, I think it's that way with any band. When you're there and you're actively buying the records as they get released, the music takes on a new shape. It becomes a much more emotional thing. And you remember it in very warm and fuzzy nostalgic terms. And I just wasn't around when the Clash were around. By the time that I listened to Combat Rock and I heard Rock the Casbah on the radio, I was 10 years old. I was very, very young, and the Clash had pretty much broken up by that point. So, but in converse to that, Big Audio Dynamite was a band that I followed all through the 80s. I bought their records as they came out. I bought the 12 inches as they came out. So I have that nostalgic piece. I think that's part of why a lot of us like bands as much as we do, is we were there. We saw them live as they were touring that album. It all helps when it comes to loving and having affection for a band. And that's why I have more affection for Big Audio Dynamite. And Dreadzone. I was around when Dreadzone was putting their records out. And I was there when Big Audio Dynamite broke up. And when Greg Roberts, he went and did his own thing with Dreadzone after that. Or actually, wait a minute, no. Screaming Target. I forgot about Screaming Target. Damn it. I would have shown my Screaming Target videos had I remembered that. But yeah, no, when Mick Jones split from the rest of the guys in Bad went and formed Screaming Target. They put out an album called Hometown Hi-Fi, which is actually pretty good, I think. You should check it out if you've never heard it. They released a single called Who Killed King Tubby, which had a Depth Charge remix. I've done a Depth Charge video. If you haven't seen that, you should go watch that. The great J. Saul Kane, who unfortunately died last year, but that's another video, and I've already done that. I hope you go and watch my Depth Charge video. But Greg Roberts left BAD, formed Screaming Target. Then he left Screaming Target behind, and then he did Dreadzone. And the original Dreadzone 360 Degrees album came out on Creation Records, and it blew me away. And in 1993, when it came out, I was heavily into techno music, man. Techno, house, jungle, rave, ambient, house. It's all I listened to. And I have to admit, I didn't have high hopes for Dreadzone because with Screaming Target, I can remember thinking, I hope that when they put out that album, I had hoped that they had gone in a very clear techno house path, but they didn't do that. It was a little more, it had dub influences in it, but it was more of like a pop album. So I thought this would probably be the same. I thought Dreadzone will probably be more kind of dub pop music, but whatever. I'm gonna explore this and see what's going on because I like to support all things Big Audio Dynamite. Well, when I heard this record, I couldn't believe it. This, as you guys know who watch my channel, excuse me, you know I'm heavily into the 90s techno electro stuff. I was listening to Warp, LFO, Autechre, Aphex Twin, Carl Craig, Andy Weatherall. These are the kinds of things I was listening to. So when this came, I guess I didn't have a lot of high hopes for it. I was listening to a lot of underground club music in all of its forms. So something coming out on Creation, Greg Roberts, I put all those things together and I just thought, it'll probably be okay, but I was very pleasantly surprised. After mentioning all those artists I just mentioned, I think that this holds its own against any of that stuff. I think it's fantastic. This is a great album, and I remember thinking at the time, wow, where'd this come from? I remember with Greg Roberts, too, when Big Audio Dynamite had their shit remixed, I remember like some of the best remixes they ever had done were by Greg Roberts. Like he did a remix of Just Play Music. He did that club mix that was on the other 99 12-inch. It was the best fucking mix they ever had done. Then he came in and he remixed House Effect, or what was it? Is it House Effect? House Effect, yeah. House Arrest, sorry. He remixed House Arrest from Megatop Phoenix. They called it In Full Effect. It was like the best B-side remix from that album. Megatop's my favorite Big Audio Dynamite album, by the way. So Greg Roberts was showing this promise. You saw it. You heard it. Like this guy, maybe more than anyone else in the band, he's kind of got his thumb on the pulse of club music better than anybody else in the band. So when I heard this, I was like, oh yeah, it was true. This is a fantastic record, man. I loved this record when it came out in 1993. And listening to it now, 30 plus years later, I don't think it's aged at all. And I think, again, this is just an opinion, but I think this is the best Dreadzone release by a long shot. I know Second Light was their most popular record, but it's hard to be even remotely critical of a band without sounding like you're dissing them. Like, I like most everything I've ever heard Dreadzone do, but I don't think they've ever done anything nearly as good as this. It's just my opinion. I still love Dreadzone. I love what they've done, but they've never done anything remotely as cool and good as 360 Degrees. I mean, I'm looking at there's not a bad song on here. 9 tracks, an hour long, and it's all good shit. My favorite track on the album is probably Far Encounter. This one. What a good song, man. Just deep, dubby techno music with fantastic sampling. Really the direction Big Audio Dynamite should have gone. But hey, you take a member from BAD and he gives you Dreadzone. It's the next best thing. I believe this fella's name was Tim Brand, right? Tim Brand? It was Greg Roberts and Tim Brand initially. And they would sprinkle in like Leo Williams and Dan Donovan too. Like Dan Donovan from BAD would come in and do remixes. So they were kind of part of the, I think they're part of the band now, but I don't know if that they were so much part of the band at this phase. But anyway, fantastic record. They just reissued this. I was happy to go to the website and buy it directly and talk about this. The reissue comes with the gatefold sleeve, which you did not get with the initial creation release. And it comes in extremely Rastafarian colored wax. Check that out. Very cool looking. I have to say, usually when you get, you know, fantastically colored wax like this, it comes at a price of sound quality. Well, the other good thing about this reissue is this sounds great. It was pressed fantastically. It sounds amazing, especially after having that original single record for the last 32 years with all of its compressed sound on one record. This sounds really good. They pressed it right. It's loud and punchy with tons of bass, and you don't have to crank the volume to hear it. Excellent pressing. I hope other record companies somehow watch this video at some point and take note of how colored wax should be pressed. Buy this and listen closely. This was pressed very well. It sounds great. Again, you can probably see like they used the whole side of the vinyl, which is important when you're dealing with dance music. They stretched out those grooves. The bass is really meaty and juicy. The beats are loud and punchy. It sounds great. And you get the warning 12-inch on the last side. The warning basically had one B-side called Africa. And then Dan Donovan of Big Audio Dynamite came in and he remixed the warning and Africa for the B-side. And you get all three of those. You get the two remixes and you get the B-side Africa on the last side. They call them No Justice, No Peace and Heart of Darkness. Basically, No Justice, No Peace is a remix of The Warning, and Heart of Darkness is a remix of Africa. Dan Donovan also came in and he did by far the greatest remix from this album on The Good, the Bad, and the Dread 12-inch. He did a remix of that. Beautiful remix. I can't count how many times I played his remix of that track in a club, and it just melted the dance floor. It was one of those cuts in the early and mid 90s where if I lost the crowd and I needed to get them back, I would drop the Dan Donovan mix of The Good, the Bad, and the Dread, and everybody would come back. It was one of the best club tracks I've ever heard. It would have been cool, I guess, to see that on here, but I don't know how you would have wedged it on here, but whatever. I will mention that Dreadzone, a couple years ago, they put out a compilation called Rare Mixes, Volume 1. I think it's called Rare Mixes. That Dan Donovan remix is on there. It has some unreleased stuff, and then it has some older stuff, including that remix. So I would recommend you pick that up. Comes on funky colored wax. I think mine's on like orange vinyl. Maybe there's a black one too. I don't know. But I was so pleased to get this. The way they spread all the tracks out, the way they put the warning single on the last side, the way it sounds good, comes in a nice gatefold sleeve. One of my favorite electronic albums has been reissued, y'all, and it sounds great. How many times did you see me come on here and rant and complain and bitch and moan about another shitty, poorly thought out reissue? Well, not here. Sounds excellent. I love this record. You should love it too. You should go listen to it. If you're a Big Audio Dynamite fan and you've never heard this, I don't understand. Why have you not heard this? Anyway, I was very happy to pick this up a few weeks ago, even though it's been out for a year and a half. Well, it's been out for 32 years, but this issue has been out for a year and a half. I'm really excited to have this and to revisit this excellent album. Greg Roberts, thank you very much for this beautiful album and for your time at Big Audio Dynamite, who I like more than The Clash. Again, people, I love The Clash, okay? I just happen to like Big Audio Dynamite more. You know, I love Joe Strummer. Love his solo albums. No problem. I have zero problem with Joe Strummer or anybody, any other member of The Clash, but I just prefer Bad. But you know what? As much as I prefer Bad, this might be my favorite album in the Big Audio Dynamite Clash ecosphere. 360 Degrees by Dreadzone. If you think you know what this album sounds like and you've never heard it, I urge you to listen to it. At its heart, it's a very deep, soulful techno album. And in album form, it's hard to hold somebody's interest when it comes to techno music, in my experience and of all the techno albums I've ever listened to. Techno is a type of music that exists perfectly on 12 inches, but it's hard to expand that to an album. This is one of the few instances where a techno album works from top to bottom. Fucking great album. 360 Degrees. Go buy this. You can go get this for $30 on Dreadzone's website. It's a pretty reasonably priced double record, especially considering its classic status, according to me. So, Dreadzone, 360 Degrees. I hope you investigate this. I'm going to get the hell out of here. Until next time.